Hey, everybody, welcome back to your Dawn of Autonomy podcast. I'm Dawn Zola, your host and the CEO of P3 Tech Consulting. We just closed out an incredible first month of 2024 dedicated to a theme of new tech sponsored by AI Bot. And now it's February. And we are talking all about data this month with our sponsor today, Carahsoft. And we're so glad to have Carahsoft back on the show with a new guest, Lauren Regiec from Carahsoft. She is a team lead of so many different things we're going to get into today. So welcome to the show, Lauren.
Thanks, Dawn. Thanks for having me. Always excited to be here. And yeah, looking forward to our discussion today.
Awesome. Well, for those of you that follow me, you may have seen Lauren on some of our live streams from various events. Lauren is always out and about at these different events for Carahsoft, and we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the show, where you might get to meet her in person. Speaking of which, we're talking about live things. We are live. And so just remember to jump in the chat, say hello, ask Lauren your questions. So much going on with Carahsoft. Now, as we all know, drones, autonomous systems, why do they exist? Why? It's all about the data. And frankly, Carahsoft was created in 2004 because it's all about the data. So before we talk about the company, Lauren, let's talk a little bit about you for those that don't know you. Can you give us a little bit of background?
Sure, happy to. So nice to meet you all. My name's Lauren. I've been with Carahsoft for the past 5 years. My background is focused in all sorts of public sector, DoD, IC, federal, civilian, state and local, and education sales. Since then, I've become a team lead for a couple different business units that Dawn just mentioned, including geospatial, autonomy and robotics, and space tech. And I really work with over 80 vendors to help grow their public sector business and help to develop their channel programs, go-to-market strategies, and leading our sales team to success.
Wow. I mean, what a diverse portfolio. We're talking about geospatial, autonomy, robotics, and now space. And what is the connecting thread between all of them? It's data. So, by the way, the chat is blowing up completely, Lauren. This is amazing. So we've got Kaylee Poti saying good morning. We've got Rob in Monterey, California. Likewise, Mark Ginug, who's from Nevada. He's working on the test site out there. And our buddy Cody Retlich from Drone a Dare, who was just on the show recently, saying happy Wednesday, great month of data. For Drone a Dare, it's all about the data too. Why? Because it's all about the data for everybody. So let's talk about why Carahsoft was created way back in the day. This focus on data.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, Carahsoft was founded 20 years ago, and we're a government distribution partner that's focused on proactively selling and marketing IT solutions to the government business in order to grow our vendor and the channel. And all of that activity is really to support our three main customers, being the technology manufacturers themselves, our end user customers in the public sector, and our reseller and system integrator partners in the channel. So since then, we've grown to over 3,000 employees. We're headquartered right outside of Washington, D.C. area in Reston, Virginia. Last year, we actually ended at 13 billion in revenue, which was a significant growth year for us. We've continued to see this over $1 billion in growth annually, year over year, and really increased our annual revenue, seen this consistent growth over the last few years in one of two ways. One is we have a significant focus on working with our existing vendors and expanding to new markets. And the second is aligning with new vendors that want to work with us and grow their business as well in the public sector space.
Well, first of all, everybody out there, Carahsoft is no stranger to the show. We had Lacey Ween on the show last year in July. So we'll drop that link. You guys can check that out. Lacey really focused on the autonomy and robotics line of effort channel, if you will, as Lauren's mentioning here. So if you want to really deep dive into that, go ahead and rewatch that show, watch it or rewatch it. Lauren, One of the, I think, most difficult things for new businesses, in particular new businesses, but even established businesses, is finding those opportunities in the government, breaking into that space. Because, I mean, having been, there we go, there's my shadow box. Having been in the Air Force, there's a huge bureaucracy, there's a lot of regulations, there's a process, and navigating that whole, the whole program, I think, is so difficult for people. Can you explain the value that Carahsoft brings to its channel partners in navigating that process at the federal, state, local, and tribal and territorial levels?
Of course, yes. So, yeah, as you mentioned, Carahsoft works and targets defense, intelligence, federal, civilian, state and local, education and healthcare organizations as well. And so we're a unique company in that we have a unique proactive distribution model. And what sets us apart from a typical distributor is that at its core, Carahsoft is a sales and marketing company, and we have a laser focus and hypersensitivity to all of our customers' needs. So, really, our customer service extends beyond just our vendors and resellers, but also to our end users in the government. And, all of our sales teams are highly trained and focused on each vendor that they support or each set of technology solutions or verticals that they support. So we just build out our sales and marketing teams around these vendors and technology verticals to make sure that we're offering extensive care and support to all of our public sector end users and ultimately scale our vendors' business and amplify their efforts.
And really, for all of those, when you think about, again, it gets back to the data, and you have so many different line of efforts. So we talked about geospatial space, autonomy and robotics. But what we didn't talk about is kind of slicing that out into all the different, let's just call it sectors or data kind of purposes that you guys focus on, whether it's, let's just say, data protection, right, through cybersecurity, data analytics through AI. Can you walk us through some of those? And I want to use your terms, Lauren, and not use the incorrect terms. Are these verticals, or what would you call like your cybersecurity effort that cuts across all of these different sectors?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so while we have, our leading technology providers, we also like to bucket those into specific verticals that align with trending solutions, government initiatives. And this way, everything kind of fits together, and we're offering more of a one-stop shop solution and end-to-end solution needs, whether that's, cybersecurity, AI machine learning, geospatial, 5G, law enforcement, autonomy and robotics. The list really goes on and on.
Okay, very good. And everybody out there, Carahsoft does some great education in its own right. And one of the things I was fortunate enough to sit through, like in December, was the legislative update that Carahsoft puts on annually. And what jumped out at me, Lauren, was, as you think about the trends that are happening right now, two words. I don't even know if it's really, I'm going to say it's not really a word. AI is not really a word. It's like an acronym. So maybe three words: artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. Those seem to be the hottest topics right now, at least on the federal side. Can you tell us a little bit about how those kind of, and what data focused lines of effort on AI and cybersecurity does Carahsoft dabble in?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So, Carahsoft is a big company, and AI is a whole entire vertical within itself. So there's a lot of data that Carahsoft supports for both government customers and our vendors when it comes to critical decision making. We have automation set up to identify trends and anomalies to better serve our customers. With the nature of our government users, cybersecurity is really important. And when you think about it every day, there's a lot of technology in place to do so. So some vendors that we work with help our cyber posture. We have a lot of vendors and in AI that have all different types of solutions like computer vision, infrastructure, machine learning. We focus on bad actors using AI for spear phishing. We also have AI technology to help identify threats. Our cybersecurity team is extensive and provides just various tailored security solutions to protect that critical data and address the rising threats of cyber attacks on our national security. So we really work with our vendors to help by enabling government agencies to efficiently and securely manage that data.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And it seems to me that not only the rise of AI, but also the increased use of cloud service offerings or CSOs on the government side across the board has really increased the need for cybersecurity. Let's talk a little bit about some of the standardized security regulations that are critical for government agencies that adopt those kind of cloud technologies, because I know that's a big emphasis on what it is that you do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Cloud is relevant to almost every single thing that we do. So cloud-based investments are increasing due to these agencies needing to save money while building faster capabilities. And anytime that you're collecting data, you need somewhere to store it, right? So there's a need to store that data securely. So Carahsoft works with all of the major CSPs, many MSPs and ISPs, and we
Okay, I'm going to stop
combine the
you right there. I'm going to be the acronym police. So yeah, not everybody will know what an MSP is and some of the other acronyms you use. So let's break that down as we're kind of explaining this.
Oh, yes, sure. So CSP is a cloud service provider, and an MSP is it's like a managed cloud service.
Okay. All right. And I'm
Managed
sorry,
service.
I cut you off in the middle of that. So you work with both of those kind of groups of folks to help with the cloud security and the regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lauren,
Yeah.
people might have heard of this FedRAMP, RAMP is all caps, and that's, I'm sure, also a fun government acronym. Can you explain to people on the federal side that are trying to navigate, working with the federal government, what FedRAMP is and why it's so important?
Yes. So, like I mentioned earlier, the different technology verticals or solution buckets, if you will, that we also have a FedRAMP portfolio. And really, in FedRAMP, speaking of acronyms, stands for the Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program. And it's a government-wide program to help standardize the approach to security assessments. So Carahsoft provides access to the FedRAMP marketplace, and we help enable these agencies to explore cloud service offerings or CSOs that have achieved FedRAMP authorization. Also similar, just to mention, to FedRAMP, Carahsoft also has a state ramp marketplace that caters to the state and local governments.
Oh, really interesting. It makes sense that the state governments would have a similar thing, given the level of cybersecurity threats, especially to government agencies and educational institutions. I mean, we've seen cyber attacks on universities recently. It's just becoming almost commonplace. So, Lauren, we have a lot of people that watch the show that are in either the drone or uncrewed aircraft system world, some in that advanced air mobility or electric vertical takeoff landing world, maybe robotics, right? We've got a very broad audience. For people that are working in those sectors that want to work with the federal government, because a lot of these vehicles essentially are either flying, driving, subsurface computers. Uh, is there usually a FedRAMP requirement for them to work with the federal government for their vehicles and the software they're using?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's mainly for software and SaaS solutions, software as a service that involve cloud. So while it's not required today, we are seeing that it's very useful and helpful to be on. So if you are looking to get FedRAMP certified, you can work with Carahsoft and we can partner with you to get your solution set to those approvals.
So somebody like Cody is out there from Dronadare that does have a software as a service to help enterprise solutions and also, individual drone pilots. If he wants to break into the federal market, it would behoove him to work with Carahsoft to help get those approvals.
Yes, we can work with you on that. We also have FedRAMP events that we host every year. I'm happy to share that information in the chat with you. And we have government speakers talking about the importance of being FedRAMP certified and whether you're FedRAMP ready or already have your FedRAMP certifications, you can still participate in the event, and we would love to work with you on that.
So, Lauren, you mentioned, some of this information. Your website is chock full of information, and you don't have to be a Carahsoft channel partner to access a lot of the information you're talking about, right? You have publicly available education and training.
Yes, we have publicly available education and training on our website. A lot of the vendors that we work with, we have various marketing efforts put in place, and on their microsite, you can access any type of training, and that ranges, not just from product overviews, but hearing from government customers on how they're using particular products or even data for their mission, and various white papers, data sets, blogs. So much information is out there. We also, in relation to that FedRAMP event, Carahsoft hosts many events that are open and complimentary to a lot of industry attendees and government attendees as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Look, if you're out there and you're thinking, hey, I want my business to be doing business with the Department of Defense, with federal agencies, with state, local, tribal, territorial governments. You don't know where to start. Start with Carahsoft's website and start combing through not only who their partners are, but this free education they're talking about, and see if there's events open near you that you can potentially join as well. So, by the way, Lauren, the chat keeps rolling here. George Foster is saying good morning from San Diego, California. Good morning, George. We're so excited because we will see you in San Diego in a couple months at AVSI Expo. We'll talk more about that at the end. And Kaylee also has a really good question, Lauren. Kaylee asks, Lauren, what does your process for market research look like? In other words, we had talked about this legislative update that you guys did in December. You've got entire teams out there looking for opportunities. Can you give us a little bit of insight how that works?
Sure. So Carahsoft has actually an entire market research department, and we subscribe to a number of various bid boards that are out there. So we actually every day go in and are scraping for various, keywords, trends, industry initiatives. And we're able, if you're partners with us, we're able to, offer that extent and support when it comes to responding to some of these opportunities out there. Our market research team also dives deeper into a couple different inks, like with Navy, healthcare, Intel, really any sort of public entity. We work with them on the daily to make sure we're staying up to date on all of that information. And really just tons of different research tools in that space for strategic agency planning, actionable account intelligence, the capturing capabilities, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's another thing that I think makes you guys so invaluable is that you've got agents out there scouring for opportunities. I think that's the not only understanding the requirements, and I want to get back to that in a second, Lauren, but also then once you know the requirements, navigating those, and then learning about opportunities as they arise. I think that's those are like the two toughest nuts to crack when you're a business trying to work with the federal government. And speaking of federal government, I think the Department of Defense or the DoD military is even more difficult. As you know, if you look at the federal landscape, right, there's a lot of federal regulations, and then DoD has additional ones that they layer on top of that. I want to talk for a second about, because especially for the drone world, people are very interested now that there's laws out there prohibiting, federal agencies. Some states have adopted similar laws from using drones that are made in China or with Chinese components. There's been a big rise of the blue UAS program, and now AUVSI has this green UAS program kind of in parallel, because DoD and the DIU was never really sourced or staffed to do this program and get people through a process. I want to talk about CMMC. And that is another acronym. And unfortunately, in my notes, it's not spelled out. I'm hoping you know what it is. If not, I'll do a quick Google search. But this is, and I know I posted about this too. I just can't remember the acronym. CMMC is a DoD certification that has just been updated. It's 2.0. And it is basically, here we go. Gotta love Google. The Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. Okay, so on top of FedRAMP and all this other stuff, there's this CMMC 2.0 requirement for DoD. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, yes. So as you mentioned, the CMMC, wow, that is hard
No,
to
it's
say.
like, I know,
Program.
M squared C, yeah.
CM squared C. That's what we'll start calling it.
Exactly.
But yes, it was developed by the DoD, and it's crucial for enhancing data security within the Defense Industrial Base, or DIB, by addressing emerging threats. So Carahsoft collaborates with various technology partners to provide these defense agencies with the necessary tools for the CMMC compliance. And similarly to FedRAMP, Carahsoft has a CMMC marketplace that allows defense agencies to explore technology solutions that align with these cybersecurity requirements. And in these marketplaces, we offer comprehensive security services, all tailored to that CMMC framework. We also feature platforms that assist agencies in closely aligning with that framework.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost mind-boggling the number of requirements you have that are out there, especially on the federal side. And then, like you said, oftentimes the state side will track that as well. And then you've got a whole nother series of requirements that you need to navigate. What I really think is interesting, Lauren, when you think about all about data, whether it's FedRAMP, CMMC, or just cybersecurity tools in general for protection, or AI, right, for analytics on the back end. It really crosses a whole bunch of different sectors out there. So we've got a big drone crowd, obviously, out there, but you guys work with healthcare institutions. You work with, as you said, law enforcement. You work with all kinds of companies just for HR, which is human resources and kind of workforce tracking and hiring and all kinds of things. What am I missing? Because there's so much in the, kind of Carahsoft ecosystem that you guys cover from a data standpoint. Are there other verticals that we haven't hit on that you wanted to kind of elaborate on?
Yeah, so we touched briefly on Carahsoft's multi-cloud portfolio, and it really just features a network of those cloud solutions. And all of these solutions are made available via various government contracts to enhance the infrastructure and support mission success. So that's a really big one in the data space when we're talking all about data. Also, by integrating some of our IoT, OT, and smart city solutions, those are all verticals that we have under our belt. You're safeguarding agency information through secure communication and monitoring and all of the analysis of critical data. Also with our DevSecOps solutions and team, we're integrating security into every single phase of the DevSecOps lifecycle, ensuring a faster and more secure software when it comes to their releases. Another one is our 5G services. These help to accelerate real-time information delivery, increase adoption of AI, like we were talking about, and deep learning technologies, and just driving that information superiority with multi-axis edge computing.
Yeah, as I listen to you, and I'm sure as our viewers out there are listening, I hope they're, I'm connecting dots, and I assume other people are connecting dots, because everything you talk about is linked in some way, especially kind of in the UAS world, the data streams, the data protection, the command and control links. And of course, if you're public safety, using those drones as drone as first responder, so I hope bells and whistles are going off. And especially if you're an integrator out there, check out their website, see what companies they're working with. And I guess that's my next question to you, Lauren, is when a company does become a Carahsoft partner, how do you link up these disparate line of efforts and verticals, companies in these different verticals, with each other, as you said, for a holistic solution for a government client, for example?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we work with, various resellers, system integrators, and also consultants like yourself. And we collaborate with these folks to empower the technology vendors in overcoming challenges with the public sector. So this includes channel teams and reseller implementation partners, managing the distribution programs for manufacturers, and this consists of over 10,000 trusted government contractors. So on the reseller side, we're partnering and creating this whole entire reseller ecosystem that we may already be working with, that you'll get access to through Carahsoft as a vendor or manufacturer partner. But we can also bring in new reseller partners that you may already be working with. Anything that we're doing to support, we can just extend to our reseller partners as well, like our marketing activities, our lead generation campaigns, teaming agreements on our GSA account or contract. And then with our system integrators, we actually have dedicated program managers for all of our system integrators. So every single day, Carahsoft is proactively working with these system integrators to really tell them about the technology that we sell, so that they have some general awareness on what your product does and where it might fit. We also can help facilitate with the bids, tying back to the market research capabilities like we were talking about earlier, and acting as their one-stop shop for these system integrators for any of the technology that they might need to acquire.
Yeah, I mentioned healthcare, and maybe this is a good example, Lauren, because when you think about healthcare, and then you think about data, and then you think about autonomy robotics, and how, let's just say, autonomous drones, semi-autonomous drones are being used to carry medical supplies, sometimes prescriptions when approved, in some cases, human organs. How like, as a use case scenario, right? I'm a drone service provider. I'm doing this work in the healthcare world. You've got such a huge and vast healthcare network. What value does Carahsoft bring to me wanting to work in that healthcare space, even though I'm in the autonomy and robotic space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a good point. I've seen those trends a lot in the healthcare space for drones. I actually heard of a use case of someone delivering a defibrillator.
Yeah,
Sorry, I have
that's
one
right.
myself, but I can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely amazing. It saved a little girl's life. But in the healthcare technology solution space, so we're helping all of these healthcare organizations combat these challenges on the daily. Even with the beginnings of COVID-19, we have a lot of really great Better Together solution stories. We also help with healthcare equality and modernization. So all of the advancement, not only in IT solutions, but in the autonomy and robotics space as well, we're helping to improve the overall quality, safety, and effectiveness of these health delivery systems by increasing productivity, enhancing communications of health informants, and just addressing all of these administrative efficiencies.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, Lauren, it was in August, I went to Alaska, and the Alaskan Center for UAS Integration, AQUASI, put on this this basically a conference dedicated to autonomy. And the state's lead healthcare provider for the government there was one of the speakers. She's a doctor, and when I think a lot of us, kind of my crowd, I'll call it, think about healthcare and autonomy, they think about drone deliveries of some of these things that you were talking about, like whether it's a defibrillator or otherwise. But the technology solutions that you're involved with go well beyond that, and include some of the things that this doctor was talking about, which is, COVID-19, if it did anything, not only did it propel drone deliveries, it also propelled telemedicine. And when you think about data and security, that is so key. What you're doing in that space. Let's talk about education, because you guys have, when most people think about governments, federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, they don't oftentimes lump education into those buckets, because not every educational institution, especially at that post-grad level, is a state university system. Not all of them get federal money, although probably most of them do. So tell us about your educational line of effort in data and autonomy, and how that kind of even came about, and what it is all about.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we are in the EDU space, education space for both K through 12 schools and higher ed. And we actually have a multitude of specialized contracts that offer these learning management systems, educational devices, applications, and software. And this all helps to ensure that we're providing the secure, intuitive, and reliable learning environments. So through that, we're delivering cybersecurity, our cloud solutions, other cutting edge technologies like autonomy and robotics, all to enhance the student privacy and resource optimization.
Yeah, autonomy and robotics is becoming such a huge thing in CTE, the technical education for people. And again, starting these kids young, getting their hands on little baby drones in the classroom. I love that you're doing that. And Laura, my brain is spinning, because I need to help you build out that better as we think about it. For those that didn't put two and two together, I'm actually, as Lauren kind of alluded to, a consultant for Carahsoft. I've been doing this for a couple of years. It's been so fun and such a privilege to work with them. So much going on. And speaking of so much going on, this month dedicated to All About Data, we've got such an eclectic mix of guests coming in. We've got a geospatial expert. That's one of your lines of effort, coming next week. Corey from MVT Solutions. And then we have Flying Lion, who's all about drone as first responder in public safety. So let's take a second and talk about your public safety line of effort specifically when it comes to data and when it comes to autonomy. What are you guys doing in this public safety space?
Mm-hmm. So we have a lot going on in the public safety space. As you mentioned, drone as first responders, and we also have a lot of upcoming events tailored towards digital twins and 3D modeling as first responders, and how it can help in that public safety space, crime scene cleanup, fire mitigation. Really, the list goes on and on. And we actually have an entire law enforcement vertical that works to connect all of the different public safety technologies throughout the building. So that can include drones. Actually, a lot of the drone manufacturers that we support today are included in that portfolio. We have the IACP conference that's coming up where Carahsoft has a big presence at. And yesterday, we actually hosted our first Law Enforcement Innovation Summit where we had some guest speakers from government, industry, consultants, vendor partners, all just discussing different topics when it comes to maximizing technology in privacy and conscious society, what we're doing in the upcomings of digital age and policing around that. Zero trust was a big topic at the event. And just combining all of these secure technologies, how to leverage AI for digital evidence. We are really proud of all the work that we're doing in the public safety space.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I want to talk about zero trust here in a second, but before we do, I want to give a shout out. You guys did this at your campus, right? At your headquarters in Ruston?
Yes. We have a training facility up on our top floor where that's where we host a lot of events or even rent out the space. We just did one with USGIF around their Geo Interaction Tuesdays and had some great networking opportunities at that event.
Yeah, it's just another benefit. And by the way, I'm going to have Mike, our producer in the background here, drop the article I wrote based on Lacey's podcast, where we explain in detail all these different verticals, all the different marketing and sales opportunities. So watch her podcast, but also read this article. It's in AUVSI's e-brief. I think it's an excellent summary, if I must say so myself, because I did write it, about how Carahsoft partnerships work. That's really what Lacey's show was all about. Today we're diving into all the verticals and all about data. So that's kind of the distinction between these two particular shows. So super cool. Law enforcement's so huge. The wave of the future, Lauren, especially in the autonomy and robotics space, is moving towards advanced air mobility and what they're calling, the electric vertical takeoff and landing, eVTOL aircraft, these Uber ride shares of the sky that we're hearing about, some of which we're seeing. We just saw Supernal, a Hyundai company, had their vehicle at the Consumer Electronics Show, CES in Las Vegas, showcased. Really cool to see that live. We've seen a lot about Archer and the Midnight. And a lot of this airspace that, whether it's drones, eVTOLs will be sharing, will require a really unique traffic management system. Are you guys looking into, we'll call it UAS traffic management, UTM type companies, and traffic management ecosystem companies as you look towards the future?
Absolutely. And that's, one of the things that you can see next in Carahsoft over this year of 2024. And really the reason why we rebranded our UAS solution vertical to autonomy and robotics to widen that umbrella and include more manufacturers that want to work with us to grow their public sector business. So we're really looking forward to attending some of these upcoming events, getting to meet face-to-face with some of these manufacturers, and would love to see anyone there if you're attending and discuss how we can partner together.
Yeah, let's talk about those events. But before we do, I'm sorry I'm jumping around, but I said we get back to zero trust and we didn't. First of all, I think it's almost an ironic term, like zero trust. Like I have zero trust that this is going to be good. Can you tell us what this actually means and why it's important and how it's relevant to data in the autonomy and robotics world in particular?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. So Carahsoft is unique in our ability to support government agencies' adaptation of zero trust, especially when it comes to architectures, for a couple reasons. So we have 800 people in our company out of 3,000 that are focused just on cybersecurity. And we
Whoa.
support, yes, so it's a lot. It's a big team, and big initiative for us. There's actually over 150 cybersecurity vendors under the Carahsoft umbrella, and we partner with all these companies that address every single zero trust capability. So we're focusing on delivering those better together solutions, so that our customers can get more value out of it, the investments that we've already made in those technologies. And we do that by integrating 2 or more silo technologies to automate these actions. We understand it can be difficult to implement new technologies. It's costly, it's time consuming. So you really have to get it right the first time. And that's why Carahsoft is here to help these organizations and evaluate the options that are out there and just make those good decisions.
So, Lauren, what is zero trust? In other words, you've got all these people working cybersecurity. Obviously, it's related as a cybersecurity. Is it just the name of a program, or is it just guiding principles? What is it exactly?
Yeah, so I kind of like to look at it as like a security model. And it helps to connect all of like the users, the data, the devices, the applications together. And it's the approach that you're taking to the strategy when you're implementing all of these cybersecurity IT systems.
Okay, got it. So it kind of does mean what it sounds like. You really have zero trust in anybody trying to access your system. So you have to layer in all these protections. There you go. I think, let's see, do we have a comment? Yeah, priority, transparency, I think, in zero trust is really prioritized. So kind of knowing who's on your system and what it is they're doing there. So let's talk. We've got only a few minutes left. Our time is flying, as I knew it would. You've got some upcoming events, including one next week. Tell us where people can find you, Lauren.
Yes. So you can find us if you're looking to partner with us. You can find us online on our website. It's carahsoft.com/partners. We also have a live chat on there if you're an end user and looking to get some of your questions answered. Follow us on socials, Carahsoft Technologies Corp. And then to reach out to myself, my email address is just first.last name. It's lauren.regetz@carahsoft.com. And you can reach out to my team as well at geospatial@carahsoft.com or drones@carahsoft.com.
And Lauren works very closely with Lacey. Like I said, she was on the show before. We dropped that link. But Lacey was also on our leadership podcast, The Full Tilt Tech Industry Leadership Talks last month. And we'll drop you that link too. Here's why I recommend you watch it. Number one, it was a great show because the theme that Lacey picked was leaders build relationships. And so true. But number two, if you have any interest in working with Carahsoft, Lauren and Lacey and the team, probably not a bad idea to get some insights into some of the people you're actually working with. And, if you can meet them in person, even better. And Lauren, you're actually going to be at Geo Week next week in Denver. Is that correct with your team?
Yes, that's correct. We'll be out there at Geo Week. And that's our next upcoming show. We also are going to be at FCO West and Exponential, GeoEnt, and Soft Week upcoming in April. So a lot of big events happening. Definitely come by and stop by the Carahsoft booth. I'll be there, or my team, and we would love to meet you all.
Yeah. And remind me, Lauren, are you guys going to the Space Symposium this year? Because you now have this big space line of effort, which we didn't even crack the code on at all. We didn't even talk about your space stuff. But are you guys, might you dip into the Space Symposium or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so this will be the first year that I'll be attending for Carahsoft. We just started growing out our space tech vertical. We already had a couple manufacturers involved in space tech, and we thought, hey, we need to start growing this technology. And so I'll be in attendance at the Space Symposium. So again, would love to meet anyone that's there.
Yeah, and most people don't realize like space touches everything, and it absolutely touches data because all those command and control links, all of those data stream links, most of them are emanating from space and in the spectrum somewhere. For those, by the way, that want to also see Carahsoft at AUVSI Exponential, they will have a booth and they are actually supporting our Law Tech Connect workshop again for the third year in a row. So thank you guys with a scholarship program. So we've got our scholars lined up. The registration is live, everybody. So if you haven't bought your tickets yet, come join us. Meet Carahsoft in person. If you're not going to Geo Week, come to Expo or some of these other events. And certainly, if you want to learn more about a Carahsoft partnership, which I highly recommend, reach out to Lauren, reach out to Lacey, get on their website, reach out to the team. All right, we are at time, Lauren, but I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds to close us out with anything else you wanted to say.
Mm-hmm. So, just really excited for next year and increasing our focus on developing technology verticals to provide the best technology to government and end user solutions, and excited for what we do next.
Absolutely. So meet them, connect with them, and that's all she wrote, everybody. We are out here.